Law is obviously applicable. And then as I go into my second and third year, I'll be able to specialize. So there's actually a human trafficking seminar at NYU, which is one of the reasons I picked it. There's a teacher there, Ann Milgram, who has done a lot of great things in the field. She's advising different governments on their trafficking strategies and worked on it in the U.S. when she worked for the Department of Justice. So I'll be able to take classes like that, which will help me to specialize. And then there's also a student organization called the Anti-Trafficking Advocacy Coalition that I am now the president of. And through that, I've been, even this year when I've been, the classes haven't been applicable, I've been able to get involved with different organizations in the city that are working on the issue in different ways. I jumped ahead there.
As president of the Anti-Trafficking Advocacy Coalition at NYU, what is your current goal or project?
Sure. The one I'm most excited about is there's an organization in the city called, actually, maybe I shouldn't use their name. So there's an organization that is an aftercare center for girls, and we are partnering with them to provide legal services to them. So we are working with a law firm as well, and it'll be NYU students will be paired with lawyers, and we will be basically providing any legal services they need, whether it's like a restraining order against their former pimp or child custody or vacating their prostitution convictions, because obviously if you were convicted for prostitution but were trafficked, that shouldn't be on your record because it wasn't really your fault, obviously. So we're getting that off the ground now and being trained for that, which has been really exciting.
I know that you have been really interested in U.S. trafficking. Can you tell a little bit more about what might not be known? I know working in New York, especially something like that.
Yeah. So it looks different in New York City than it does in Cambodia, obviously, and I think that some people are surprised to hear that it's technically trafficking in the city, because it's less like girls being held in chains in basements, and more psychological abuse and coercion. So I would say probably the majority of victims are runaways or come from really low-income families or were abused when they were little and are manipulated by pimps who are sort of out looking for new girls. And there's a statistic that for runaways, within the first 48 hours on the street, 1 in 3 will be lured into prostitution. So it's a big issue. The movie Very Young Girls does a great job sort of laying that out, and it's a lot more complicated than just like freeing someone, because often they don't have anywhere else to go. Often they like genuinely feel like they're in love with their pimp, who sells them and like beats them often, but is maybe the only person in their lives who also takes care of them. So it's very complicated, and it's not just about like getting them out. It involves a lot of it's a long process, and involves counseling and providing housing and education and helping them get their records clear and all of these other things that can be really difficult and complicated.
So you mentioned you went to Cambodia and you experienced human trafficking. You worked there. Can you explain what inspired you to go to Cambodia, and how did you end up going there?
Sure. So as I was learning about the issue, I at one point was thinking about going. There was a program that would have taken me there for 5 months, and then that didn't work out for a number of reasons. But then I found this much shorter trip that was more of an introduction to the issue. Obviously, in a couple weeks, there's not that much you can do service-wise, but it was through this organization, World Hope International, and they have an aftercare center in Cambodia for girls who've just been rescued. So it's for like the first 3 months after they have been taken out of brothels, and in Cambodia, a lot of them are, like I said, really, really young, and so a lot of the girls at the center are like, 6, 7, 8, 9, and we went there and volunteered there and did art projects with them and spent time with the girls, and they were wonderful. They were actually had a great time doing these projects with us, and were smiling and hugging us, and really there was a lot of healing going on, which was surprising in a way, because you just expect this terrible trauma that you could never get over. And the good news is that there are all these people who have devoted their lives to caring for these girls and working on the issue, and there is actually a lot of healing. And then while we were there, we also visited other organizations and nonprofits, and the way it works there in Phnom Penh, which is the capital of Cambodia, is there's all of these organizations that work on different sort of parts of the problem, and they work together really well. So there's one organization that works with the police to help rescue girls, and then there's this emergency aftercare center, and then there's a longer term aftercare center if they can't be returned to their families, and then there's different job and skills training, and it's